Alright guys, we're back with game 2 of this series between the Solaire Club and DoCa, and I forgot to unmute HoN. There we go. Sorry, game 3. One of these games. Anyway, sorry, I saw Sir Benzie's name, like, what the hell's going on? I forgot. This is a remake game, apparently, and as you can see, it's nice and glitchy. It was likely because this was played like 2 patches ago, so all sorts of fun stuff happens with things and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, not going to discuss too much about the bans or the draft order because I don't know exactly what was drafted in what order, but as far as the picks go, we're looking at Kraken, Soulstealer, Legionnaire, Cthulhuphant, and Glacius on the Legion side. Hellborn going to go with Arachna, Torturer, Magmus, Gauntlet, and Ophelia. So, give me a second to formulate thoughts about this, because the glitchiness is screwing with me a lot. And alright, so Army of Obs is going to play Cthulhuphant, and Chisman's going to play Kraken. My mind has exploded all over the place. Just like, I don't know what to believe anymore, and I don't know how logic works, because the Legion team picked Kraken and Army of Mums isn't playing it. Alright, it's fine. I'm gonna get over it. Anyway, Kenro for the Solaire Club, picking up these Soul Stealers. That's gonna be a pretty heavy damage source. And look at the rest of the Legion team, and they're largely involved with Lockdown. Noob with the Legionnaire last game. That did very, very well, so they figured we'll go for round 2 on that one. Always a good question to ask. Solaire Club does do Kong and does ask about Kong a fair bit. It's kind of funny. Anyway, it looks like Hellborn going to pick up the Arachna on top of the Gauntlet, Magmus, and Ophelia, so much more gank oriented on the Hellborn side as opposed to the Legion side's team fight stuff with the Kraken ultimate and the Soul Stealer ultimate on top of that. That's going to do a lot of damage in AoE team fights, and the Legion can't necessarily pick up the shrunken heads all over the place like Solaire Club could last game to counter all this damage, because yeah, it's going to stop a fair bit of Soul Stealer stuff, but he's going to right-click to death, and Lego's purely physical, and Cthulhuphant can still hit you and stuff like that, so Kraken can still hit you, so we'll see how many shrunken heads coming out for the Hellborn team, but I suspect it's not going to be all that many. Obviously Legion will pick up a few, as the Hellborn team will come in with a fair bit of magic damage and right clicks, but I'm really excited to see how this Arachna works, because we've seen her every so often, and I think it's a hero with more potential than is currently realized. She doesn't carry all that hard, but she definitely carries pretty hard, and you compare her to somebody like Corporate Disciple in the last game, she can probably out-carry a CD. Depends on whether or not CD gets the conduit off and for how long, but assuming that she doesn't get all her damage stolen, you know, a little bit, but not all of it, she can probably outright click him, and obviously the continued annoyance of the, what is that even called? Webbed shot. I don't even know, this hero never shows up. It is a bit of an issue, especially for mobility-based heroes, and the Legion have a lot of those, and they also have a lot of porta keys that can be cancelled with the continuous dot damage. Oh, board beater, shut up. Sorry, I'm kind of out of it all of a sudden, I don't know why. Legion's gonna be Soul Stealer and Glacius in the bottom lane, and they're gonna be posed by Magmus and Torturer. I'm extremely... I don't understand why I'm not seeing things or reacting to stuff at the appropriate time. I probably shouldn't be playing HoN at this point either. Wouldn't go very well. Anyway, Torturer and Magmus down here. Not a lane combination I'm particularly a fan of. They will get the Glacius out right here, but as you can see, no follow-up damage. And okay, you get the Magmus stun potentially into a Torturer stun. I'm not sure if there's enough past that, and it's not like Torturer can set up Magmus. That really shouldn't be happening in general, but not a huge thing. Glacius could be in some trouble right here. They can pop the Impalement, but Torturer taking a ton of damage on the back. And Glacius kind of running forward. We'll be taking a lot of right clicks right here, and he's gonna die. Okay, they're calling a boss vote. That might have been some sort of DC from Stand March right there. We already gonna skip straight through it, so there could have been some all chat saying that, yeah, that was a pause. And, alright. Solo DoCa takes the death as well. So, stuff's happening. Maybe these guys don't know what's going on either. Either way, 1-for-1 in the bottom lane, and the Bloodlust goes in favor of the Hellborn team, which is really good. And Magnus gets it, which is even better. But then losing the kill right in return and giving it to Kennendorf, not a great thing. So probably relatively even in terms of how that went overall. You know, Legion getting the kill, only having a deal of support. Hellborn losing their farmer in that lane, not a great thing. Looks like Glacius might be moving a little bit. Or sorry, the Torturer might be moving a little bit. Hasn't gone back to base here to go heal up and left the Magnus solo bottom. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes back, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they send him top lane once again. And speaking of sending him top lane, I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried to box out this Cthulhu. Torturer typically known for being a zoning support, and he has not tried to deal with this elephant in the top lane. To be fair, I don't think he can. So, in that sense, it's probably a good call. It's just strange. We usually see Torturers in solo short as opposed to in long lane dual lanes or in middle dual lanes, or tri lanes for that matter, because the impalement doesn't do too much. Although you could definitely go the agonizing bonds build, just people don't do that. By the way, Legionnaire and Ophelia competing in the same woods for farm. Lego will be forced to take a health bot right here. He's a 215 GPM actually bottom. They're going to try to catch out Kennendorf right here. Do they have the damage to finish him off? There's one Demon Hand. They're going to kill Kennendorf, but they also lose Zudonix. There's a trade that goes in favor of Hellborn, of course, as they'd rather trade their support for a farmer all day, day. Thunderblast is going to slow down the Magnus a little bit. Meanwhile, middle lane Kraken going to be able to pull Gauntlet back into the tower range, in fact. But Gauntlet just walks it off, so... Last game, Jismin, very good Gauntlet play. And this time, Zephranthe is like, I can do that too. Let me show you. Cthulhu is in a lot of trouble, but I think he's going to live. Because the rotation from Ophelia was extremely slow. I don't understand what that was, but it seems like a lack of communication. If Ophelia had moved over at all, that was a dead elephant, and instead he's going to be able to get back to base. So his top lane's actually going quite well for Arachna, as compared to a Suicide hero that can often dominate in 1v1, including against range heroes like that. Army of Mum's still at 215 GPM, which is not bad at all, but Linko 6 nearing the 300 mark, and actually bottom is going to be Zudonix falling once again on that Torture. We'll see if Magnus can get a counter kill, but I don't think he can. I think the auto attack's going to be too much, and Soul Stealer with the bottle charge is saving his life. So early bottle from SS, and that's going to result in a double tap for Kennendorf. He's at 340 gold per minute and is the top farmer in the game. Second is Kraken in the middle lane, so Solaire Club again for the third straight game, off to a very strong start. And, Kraken going to get jumped actually in the middle lane. Gauntlet Blast is there. He's going to charge the Gauntlet back in, but that was really strange. I feel like he had the opportunity to get out of that potentially if he'd charged away. Maybe he felt like he was dead anyway, so I might as well do something. But at the very least, he wasted his ultimate. And now he doesn't have that to compete with the Gauntlet, who no longer also has his ultimate. So, a bit of an interesting play from Jismin right there, and maybe that's why Army of Mums plays the Kraken. It's because Jismin doesn't want to or doesn't feel comfortable on a hero, and that would certainly explain that stuff. Or that play right there. Anyway, speaking of Army of Mums, we'll get some lane control in this top lane and allow him to get him a couple of CS and some levels, which he's actually doing quite fine on. All 4 heroes on the Legion side are level 6. But Stand March only level 4 because he's bad. Hellborn, much more variation in their lanes, as Zephranthe leading the game at level 7, but then you get 6, 5, 4, 3. But they're in the wrong order, god damn it. Zephranthe should be the captain. So, things once again progressing relatively in favor of SolC. Gold relatively even experience, though, in their favor. And Noob McNoob able to chase that Ophelia out of the jungle, of course, as Ophelia is a decent aggressive jungler. And I like the idea of trying to address Noob McNoob early and often, because Legionnaire can, of course, take a crap ton of damage while farming creep camps, so if you can catch him, it's often pretty easy to kill. And it's going to be the jump now, as they're going to try to find a couple of hero kills, potentially. Noob McNoob waiting for the taunt, and there goes one, because Zudonix is basically just like, I'm dead. Taunt is going to be there onto the Magmus. He's obviously already gone, and that's going to be his second kill. So tower dive is successful. LEGO feeling like he can do that, and he's correct. There's one web shot, but in fact, this could be really bad for Arachna. Do they have enough damage to finish her off? No, they don't. The tower dive is significant, but it's not going to result in any kills. In fact, one death. There's Gauntlet, and the Gauntlet blast onto Cannondorf. That's not going to be sufficient. There goes actually the LEGO reinitiating, and he will die for that, but it's still a pretty good trade. Demon Hands coming through from Solaire, but they won't be able to finish off Gauntlet. So heavy rotations there from both sides. In fact, even more, as both Magmus and Torture come back in, and Kraken going to start to join the party as well. His ultimate is back available. Magmus looking for a jump on a Cannondorf, won't be able to find the Lava Surge, so only a level 3 stun. And therefore the range is much lower than it will be at level 7. And Kraken putting the Torrent down on the Gauntlet. He's pretty low, but he should be able to back on out with Kraken being forced back to middle lane now. The disadvantage there is Kraken wasted a bunch of time trying to perhaps set up a kill right there, and instead of taking advantage of the fact that Gauntlet was no longer in his lane and getting him some free farm and some free levels, he is not going to be able to do that to the extent that he otherwise would have. So there was some opportunity right there to recover the deficit that he managed to rack up as a result of that early kill, and instead he's not really going to be able to find it. So Jisman, I like the idea. I think the rotation is good, but once it became clear they were basically hugging the tower, probably shouldn't have done that. Anyway, top lane Cthulhuphant gonna eat an ultimate from Arachna, and that's a lot of damage coming out extremely quickly. He will trample on through the Ophelia and her creeps, trying to survive, but it's not going to be enough to get out of there. And Army of Mums taking another death. Sorry, what am I even talking about? Another death. That's his first death. I'm sorry, I'm used to him being dead. And dying a lot. It's not a big deal. But I should remember that Cthulhuphant's broken, and apparently so broken that Army of Bums only died once in about 10 minutes. Timeout right there, pause, and we skip straight through because replays are awesome. Ophelia gonna push this top lane along with Arachna, and of course, everybody getting the advantage of that precision aura. Is that what it is? Yeah, look at that. I actually knew that ability name. I'm such a genius. So it will not grant True Strike until level 4, but it gives you additional damage for all these Skeleton Kings as well as for Ophelia and the Spider. Middle lane, going to be the jump onto Gauntlet. They're realizing he's snowballing pretty effectively and they want to address that. So he's going to get the Gauntlet Blast onto Glacius. Might actually get this kill. Yes, he will. Does eventually die, but the 1-for-1 is actually pretty good because they took 3 heroes to rotate and kill him. Meanwhile, Tier 1 tower falls in the top lane, and so pretty good sequence of events there from Don't Care. They also gave deny in the bottom lane, but at the same time, they're in fact continuing to lose resources overall as Solaire Club has consistently proven themselves to be the better early game and laning phase team. Now, unlike last game, Hellborn have a pretty substantial amount of right-click damage, and I think they can scale much better into this game than they could last game. On the other hand, Arachna will not out-carry Soul Stealer, so it's going to be a matter of continuing to find pickoffs. They do have a very gank-oriented team, and they're going to need to address a Soul Stealer hero that does not have escape mechanisms or slows or stuns. Anyway, Torture going to eat a taunt, but it's not going to matter. LEGO bears the full brunt of the Hellborn team as they drop ports on the entire team, and it's going to result in a mid-tier 1 tower push. So Legion side getting aggressive and doing so early, and I like that strategy considering their lineup. As they get a tier 1 tower in middle. And that's also going to open up the Legion Woods, which is pretty typically critical for Soul Stealer. We see a pretty heavily stacked camp right here, and Ophelia's like, oh, Minotaurs, I love everything. Yep. 2 free Minotaurs for Ophelia, and that's the optimal creep distribution for her, of course. Skeleton King net into Minotaur Stomp, into Minotaur Stomp provides a lot of lockdown when chained correctly. We're going to see a teleport come in here. Legion do not want to continuously allow their towers to fall, but I'm not sure if there's too much else they can do about this. In fact, Cannondorf can continue pushing bottom. Army of Mum's going to push top. Gauntlet Hook's not going to connect, but they're going to lose a tier 2 in this middle lane. Arachna going to port to the bottom lane and deny a tier 2 down there. So in fact, this is good for Solaire Club. In fact, we'll see if Legionnaire can get anything. No, he cannot. Gets stunned to hell and will be gone. So that ended up being pretty good. It was a trade of towers, and it took the Legion a lot fewer resources to get their stuff than the Hellborn. Meanwhile, they nearly killed the tier 1 at the top lane, and the Hellborn still have a tower advantage, so that is in their favor, but ultimately, I would say that exchange progressed in favor of the Solaire Club. Once again, Znaoi's Znaoi's sure can't keep connecting in the middle of this series. It's kind of funny.
The Legion have overrun a Hellborn FOB.
And in fact, Hellborn going to lose a tier 1 in middle for absolutely nothing. Creep Wave just overpowering it. Again with the highs. What the hell, Canadorf? What the hell, man? Always. Shorcan shows up. Hi, Shorcan. Znaoi shows up. Hi, Znaoi. And it's like he doesn't care, you know? It's like he doesn't care. Spider in the top lane actually will get hit. It's a 2-foot trample forward. The creep struck right on him, and Canador finishes up that kill with a demon hand. So, level 1 magic resistance with his W, not really enough to mitigate the amount of magic damage that can come out from this Legion team. That's something I actually hadn't considered either. There is a fair bit of magic damage on the Legion side, and that hardened carapace will be extremely helpful when it comes to preventing them from being able to burst down that spider. We're going to counter with a tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Here comes Gauntlet, setting stuff up in the top. Looks like SolC will be dying right here. Nice Magma stun, hitting a couple. Astrolabe will save Torture for the meantime, but eventually he will get picked off by Cthulhuphant here. So Cthulhuphant might end up dying, and if he does, as going for that Torturer kill was good, but it's fine. And Stand March gets out of there no problem. So I'm liking the response from Don't Care. They've managed to do stuff. Sorry again, Twitch chat. They managed to do stuff. I am a genius, you guys. You are privileged to be hearing my amazing insight into this game. They've managed to do stuff. Alright. I quit. Anyway, I was kind of surprised they were not going for Conquer there. I thought that was the objective. Ophelia and Spider should be able to help take it down relatively quickly. And that would give them the opportunity to perhaps push some high ground here, at the very least clean up some more outer towers. And I think they want to continue to be aggressive on this Hellborn team for good reason. So, Elephant gonna go for the Astrolabe build here. In fact, finishes off the entire Astro. It's not bad. 271 GPM on that Elephant. And Glacius, you're in a bad position. That is also extremely funny. I love that death sound. It's creepy as shit. I'm sorry, but if anybody, like, left and said that in that specific voice, you would never see them again, because you would never want to. You probably would see them again, you just wouldn't know it. They'd be watching you. God damn, that's creepy. It's fantastic. That and the Cookie Balf death are the best. Anyway, I'm ranting about stupid avatar shit. Gandalf gonna be invisible here. Trying to look for an opening, presumably with his ultimate, has level 2 of the Soul Burst. And not able to find anybody, unfortunately. By the way, Portal Key is picked up on Kraken, so that's going to be pretty big as far as their initiation potential goes. And for some reason, Solaire Club really like this Astrolabe Cthulhuphant build, which I'm okay with, but I would much prefer to see the Portal Key as the next item. Actually, they're going to be able to catch Legionnaire in this bottom lane, and Noob McNoob being addressed, unable to snowball like he was last game. At 300 GPM, not farming particularly badly, but last game he was a force, as he just continuously found pickoffs. The initiation was all over the place and quite fantastic. This game, obviously, much less successful, as they realize that's a hero combo they need to address. And they're doing so. Obviously, PK was picked on a Gauntlet quite a while ago, but now Magnus will finish off his own 320 GPM on Solo Volca, so the Hellborn's pickup potential is pretty solid. And we'll see if they can make use of those portal keys onto relatively bursty heroes with good lockdown. Spider, by the way, going for the Firebrand, and presumably we'll be getting a Geometer's Bane at some point. And top lane is going to be the jump onto Link. He pops the Hardened Carapace. He's also going to be able to try to get out of there with the Energizer Release of Kraken on top of the Cthulhu and Trample, though, and that means it's a pretty easy death. So despite the use of the Ophelia ultimate, unable to finish off Link. And middle lane TP away from Ganondorf before they can lock him down and kill him. So they do try to use the PKs on Magnus and Gaunt to get a kill. Unable to finish off Ganondorf because he's actually relatively tanky. And that's Glacius taking Ophelia creep damage. I'm like, what is he doing? So, this game continuing to be relatively even as we approach the 20-minute mark. Hero kills, even. Gold, even. Experience, slightly in favor of the Solaire Club, but by no means an insurmountable lead. Farm, it's mostly a competition at this point between Soulstealer and Gauntlet, which is okay as far as the GPM, the pure amount of farm goes. It's less okay as far as the game progression goes, because like I said before, Soulstealer will outcarry the Spider. So if Spider wants to take this late and be a force, she's going to need a lot of farm. And at 333 GPM, she's not really finding it. To be honest, I'd like to see her get the Assassin's Shroud before she gets a full Geometer's Bane. I think she needs the invisibility. It's going to be extremely helpful against this Legion side and their pick-off potential. It's also going to be great to combo with the rest of her team with their portal keys and just on her own, even being able to find solo pickoffs with the invisibility is extremely valuable. So they're looking for a couple of kills in this top lane, and Cthulhu and Kraken will be able to get out pretty damn easily, and that'll be the end of that. So not bad. And overall, I do lean in favor of the Solaire Club, just slightly, as this game progresses, assuming the gold distribution stays relatively similar, and assuming Ganondorf continues to pick up his farm, and the Hellborn continues to pick up their farm, but as long as nobody's going to be able to touch the Soulstealer, it will get to the point where SS just massively destroys the entire Hellborn team, because it'd be one thing if they didn't have the backup for him, but he's got 3 strength initiators behind him, presumably all of which will have portal keys and have good lockdown spells, including in AoE. So on top of that, and just a crap ton of damage from the SS, I don't see where the Hellborn are going to come out ahead. I mean, they have the pick-up potential, but that's going to be what's required anyway. They're going to be able to catch Link and the Magnus right here, but the entire Hellborn team is all of a sudden there, and it's a counter kill on the Noob McNoob. Kraken is also going to fall, so they knew Link was going to get baited right there, and they're like, fine, you want to go kill our Spider? Then we're going to kill both of you, and a really, really good play from Don't Care as they survive, and that's going to be a tier 2 tower kill. So that's what they need to do. I mean, if that's assuming things were going to stay the same, I favor Solaire Club, but if Don't Care can find the picks, which they're going to be much better at than the Legion team, then obviously things become a lot easier, because they have an Ophelia and a Torture to start pushing down towers and stuff like that, and you can see that happen right here. They may or may not be going for a tier 3 right here, but at least they're going to get some damage. Whether they will kill it or not is a question, but between Ophelia and Torture, I mean, they can clearly do a lot of damage to a tower. You see that tower just destroyed. And both LEGO and Kraken are going to respawn here, but that's going to still be a tier 3 tower kill. Portal Key's off on the way. Legionnaire is going to miss his taunt right there as the Ophelia minion actually stuns him. Kraken going to get the charge onto Magnus. Gauntlet actually hits the hook onto Soulstealer, but the Soul Burst is going to be on top of that. He actually cancels it, and we'll see if they eventually get any kills on the Legion side. Soul Burst finally does hit Link, and he's going to be able to sacrifice himself to save most of the rest of his team. Solar Vulk on the Magnus also did die. Gauntlet trying to run away, but there's no taunt available because Legionnaire used all his mana at this point. I'm going to use the Infernal Instability to grab additional move speed. There's the PK on out, and the TP away for Zephranthe, and he will be just fine. So the Hellborn side lose 2 heroes, but they get 2 towers out of it, including a tier 3, so I think they will definitely take that trade. And Bottom lane support's going at it, neither of them really coming out ahead. Legion going to try to counter push this a little bit, and my suspicion is that they will get a tier 2 tower in the top lane, but not much else. Glyph of Fortification being used there as well to slow them down a little bit. That's going to be Magnus is going to be back up. He also has an eruption available, of course, because he didn't use it previously. And Spider has all of her spells available because they're relatively short cooldowns. Ultimate's level 30 seconds level 3? Yeah, 30 seconds level 3, so she has a ton of pick-off potential with that, and we're nearing 3,000 gold on her, so if she wants a Geometer's Bane, she can buy it. And I'm hoping that... No, it's going to be a Shrunken. Or is that going to be a Frostburn? It's got to be a Shrunken. Right? Huh. That's fine. I don't hate it. I don't especially love it. And I don't especially love it right now. Soul Stealer's building up some pretty good damage. And the Lego's purely physical. And Kraken will put some pretty good physical damage out. So... it's still a valuable item, but it's not exactly crucial or game-breaking if she picks it up. And I feel like there are better options. I'd rather see her finish off the Geometer's Bane. I'd like to see her pick up a Shroud, as I said before. I feel like either of those items, especially the Shroud, would provide her just as much survivability as a Shrunken, and much more in the way of offensive capability. So, it's going to be a Kongor nonetheless, and Spider will pick up the token right there. That's going to assist her survivability, of course. Still just 1,200 health, even with the Mighty Blade, and she is not particularly tanky. Obviously, the Ophelia helping out with that, with not only her ultimate, but the Astrolabe as well, but still. Going to be difficult to keep the Spider alive in fights when she does not have a token, but if you do so, she will hit like a truck. Overall GPMs, no surprise. Soul Stealer continuing to increase, and continuing to lead by a pretty substantial margin. As Gauntlet has more or less maintained his farm. Arachna's getting up there. But we have three 300 plus GPM farmers on the Legion side and 4 on the Hellborn side. So there actually is a lot of gold that's being acquired in this game. And you can see that Tower is just dead everywhere, and that's a huge part of it, as the Hellborn side will have to defend in the top lane. Soul Stealer and Legionnaire pushing in here, and it looks like bottom tier 2 tower will survive for the meantime. Gauntlet can miss a hook right there as he's going for the initiation, but Legion gonna be backed off right there, and probably the right move for the Hellborn because they couldn't have taken base as fast as the Legion side can, even though they have superior push. Just with the additional tier 2 tower, and actually bottom lane, Eruption getting charged up right there, right onto Soul Stealer. He's been taking a lot of damage. The chain reactions is there as well, and there's no way he's getting out of that one. Cannondorf falling pretty quickly, absolutely no backup, and with no Shrunken Head yet, it's difficult for him to survive that sort of initiation. So, he's got the Nullstone, which is great, and he's got the Portal Key, which is great, but he has no offensive items at this point. And so he's not hitting all of that hard. Sure, he's got the additional damage from his W, but you know, it's not exactly, and the minus armor as well, of course, but it's not exactly game breaking. By the way, Arachna will pick up the Shrunken Head. She has it completed, and it's on the way. Cannondorf does have a buyback, and we'll see if they can force it out right here. There's a Token of Life still on Arachna, and she's got about 3 minutes left on it, so she has double damage rune as well, so they need to focus her a little bit and get her killed if they want to save their melee racks. And they're going to use the Glyph to slow this down, but they're going to need a Cannondorf buyback. And it doesn't seem like it's happening, so they're going to sack the melee racks in the top lane.
The Legion barracks are liquidated.
And looks like the range racks going to be falling here as well. Obviously they have less armor, so they die much quicker.
The Legion barracks are liquidated.
And that's going to be free racks for the Hellborn team. They don't force the token, they don't force a fight, they don't lose any heroes, but they also don't kill anybody. And potentially that means... Sorry, I didn't even know it. Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry, I've got some spam in Twitch chat. I want to make sure I throw out a ban. Anyway, SolC continuing to farm here, so despite the pickoff, he's still around the 500 GPM mark, and doesn't seem like anybody's going to be threatening him anytime soon. But the Hellborn are going to continue to keep up the aggression, and they really have to do this. They have to make a good use of this token, and we have a minute and a half left on it, so they probably don't need to be dicking around with, you know, people standing off to the sideline. If they want to get a token use, and they want to get at least one tower or some damage on a tower or something out of this. This is going to be the last tier 2 to fall, so that's valuable. But they can go push high ground with this, they just don't have that much of a window. And the problem is Ophelia is nowhere nearby. We also don't have Magnus near there, as they're going to try to defend this tier 2 in middle lane while the rest of the team pushes bottom. And it looks like Torture is the only one that's going to be there. Going to be left behind as we see 2 teleports going through. We'll see if they try to catch this Tort, but they're not going to. Meanwhile, middle lane, Noob does die, so let's go back and watch that. There's the eruption right on his face. He's going to be one that falls while the rest of his team gets out, so Noob. Unfavorable. I missed a really weird kill on Glack. Oh well. Stein March dies a lot, guys. Can't see everything. Spider, still with 30 seconds left on the token. Realistically, can't get anything else out of this, and in fact, this might be a little too aggressive. I mean, if she just goes and stands into the tower, she'll die. But this is kind of pushing it. Yeah, we're going to see 10 seconds on the token before the creep wave even shows up. So what this is going to be is more like just a legitimate base push. And that's kind of iffy, but that's actually another good point. 4,500 gold on Ophelia. You're pushing now. I mean, Hellborn have a 7k gold advantage, but that's 4,500 on Ophelia, 2,000 on Gauntlet, 3,000 on Magnus, and 2,000 on Spider. So realistically, they don't have a gold advantage. They have a pretty substantial gold disadvantage because the Legion side have more or less used all of their gold to buy stuff. Then again, they don't have buybacks on 3 of those 5 heroes, but nobody gonna push on the Hellborn team. They realize they don't really actually want to do that. But I like the thought. I mean, I honestly think it's a good idea to just kind of show up in bottom lane every so often and force the Legion team back into their base, force them to kind of sit around for a while and do some chip damage maybe if you can, especially with the Ophelia minions. But for the most part, just don't let the Legion side not carry TPs. Don't let them be able to forget about top lane continuously pushing in. And that's going to redeem a lot, I think, when it comes to the Hellborn's ability to win this game, because, like I said, they can't take this late, but that top Rax can do a ton of work. It's going to be a lot of gold lost, especially considering how early it was taken, and it's going to be something they have to constantly address, which means they're going to be consistently fighting down a man because somebody's in the top lane defending that, etc., and it's just going to be really, really annoying to deal with. So that sort of thing opens up a lot of potential to win games, even when you don't necessarily have a late game advantage. But yes, it's going to be a Hex on Ophelia, so she will be flying the Sheepstick out to herself right now. She has nearly all of it, just missing the Mana Tube, and that's going to be there in about 600 gold. Actually, they won't stop the tour on Catilla. Sad times. And Oath continuing to farm the bottom lane as she wants to finish off her Sheepstick. Obviously, there is a Nullstone on SolC, but they have a number of single target spells to take that off. Agonizing Bonds is one. I think Webbed Shot might do it. I don't know. Ophelia obviously has 2 spells that will remove it, so it's fine. And Kongor also going to be back up relatively quickly. Obviously, the token wore off before Arachna could make use of it, but it's going to be another opportunity for her to get a second life, which she probably needs to be able to push into the Legion base. She's sitting at another 2,800 gold right now, so I continue to hope that it's a Shroud. Wouldn't be surprised if it's to finish Geometer's Bane, especially if she wants to make sure that she still has the bottle, the Energizer, and the port, because she doesn't have too much space for items right now. And then, of course, if they go for another token, it's going to create another item problem, but yeah, I figured Web Shot wouldn't, but anyway. That's another good point, actually. Yeah, Tablets do also remove Nullstone, and they have 3 of those on the Hellborn team, so it's fine. Anyway, looks like Hellborn will be once again pushing down the bottom lane, as they want to make sure they continuously press this advantage, so this is what I meant before when I said, just do this every so often. And I like it. I really do. Ophelia continuously being annoying. She also does have her Sheepstick on the way, as the Mana Tube is coming in. And Geometer's Bane will be finished up on Arachna as well, so that's going to be the choice. Not a huge surprise either. This is also going to assist their push, because she can of course just spam those illusions and send them back into the base. And that's going to result in continuous chip damage on the tower. So Kongor going to be responding, I assume, in a matter of seconds. Because they wouldn't just be hanging around here if Kong wasn't going to be back. I'm guessing they have a timer, and they're just waiting for it. But either way. By the way, Noob McNoob, 230 GPM. He's actually suffered pretty substantially. He was up closer to 300 near the laning phase, but repeatedly ganked, and apparently just has not had farm since then. I would imagine most of it's been going to Cannondorf, and of course the continuous push in top lane. They really haven't had any access to the Hellborn jungle, and their own woods has been largely taken away from them. So you can see the GPM marks right here. And outside of Cannondorf on that Soul Stealer, it's really falling off. The Hellborn side have 4 farmers that outfarm everybody in the Legion team except for the Soul Stealer. Then again, Soul Stealer's at 500 GPM, so hey, you know, do you necessarily need a ton of farm on Kraken, Lego, and Cthulhuphant? Probably not. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Legion side are really in that bad of a position. Although, once again, Cthulhuphant going for the Barrier Idol. Really, guys? Get a portal key. Anyway, Legionnaire gonna jump onto Link over here. Obviously, no token, because they haven't done anything yet. Popping the Geometer's Bane, and there goes the Eruption in the background. Getting it channeled. Soul Burst not really doing all that much damage. Eruption not doing that much either, because of the Shrunken Heads and the general tankiness. Still nobody dying, as they finally managed to pick off Torture on the Hellborn side. Gauntlet, all of a sudden in a ton of trouble, and Link, trying to kill Kraken, will be able to do so. Cthulhuphant's chasing her down. Meanwhile, the Ophelia minions creating a lot of havoc down here. Gauntlet coming in with a buyback. Going to miss the hook, though, and they will be able to kill the Arachna. They do lose Noob McNoob for that, but definitely a good trade. I think Cannondorf might actually be in some trouble. Magma's taking a lot of damage, and Cannondorf's going to survive. They're actually going to get the kill, as Ophelia ends up finishing him off. Ophelia still full health and full mana here. Sheepstick back up in a second. We'll see what she chooses to do with it. It's going to be the sheep onto Cthulhuphant, and she's going to try to run away, and that will be the end of that. So Ophelia does survive, but it ends up being 5 hero kills on the Hellborn side for just 3 on the Legion side, plus a tower kill. They lose Cannondorf on the Legion, but obviously that's a definitely one engagement for the Legion side, and that's what I was talking about before. I'm not really sure they need all that much magic, or they need all that much farm on the Legion team. Soul Stealer is going to outcarry, and it's getting to the point where he's going to hit really hard. He's going to be difficult to take down with a Null Stone and a Shrunken Head, and he's going to be very mobile in these team fights with the Portal Key. So, meantime, that's a good point too. Yeah, I mean, I was about to mention the Barrier Idol over the Portal Key, and obviously on Cthulhuphant, and obviously Eruption doesn't do a lot against the Barrier Idol when it got popped. And that happened in that fight. So Barrier Idol doing a lot to counter Magmus and his ultimate. And Legion Courier dies. And yeah, I mean, a lot of damage is mitigated in that sense. On the other hand, Shrunken Head was already up for Soul Stealer, so it's not like he was going to take any of that damage anyway. And we have a fair bit of tankiness between the 3 Strength Initiators for Legion side. So yeah, Barrier Idol definitely helped a lot, but would that have been a one fight without it? Very possibly. I don't know, but very possibly it would have been anyway. Perhaps the only thing that might have happened is a couple of heroes in Legion side might have died a little bit quicker, and or Cthulhuphant might have died, and he didn't. So either way, yeah, that's the other thing, is that they just, you know, Spider got jumped, and when that happens, and the Hellborn team weren't really, they weren't immediate, because Magmus has to charge up the Eruption to get the counter initiation, and Gauntlet's there, but he's mostly a single target hero. So it's difficult for him to mitigate the initiation potential of the Legion team on multiple heroes, because he can basically only hit like 2 at max between the hook and the Gauntlet blast. So there's a little bit of a window right there on the Legion side. Have the jump between Magmus charging the Eruption and Gauntlet trying to put in some spells where they can perhaps get some damage on the Link. And that's what we saw that fight. So Solaire Club continuing to even up this game. They are ahead in experience now, still a deficit of gold for them. But Kongor is the focus for the Hellborn team because they really want to get another token on the Arachna, and I don't blame them. I think they really, really need it in order to be able to push base once again. They have a lot of push between the Torture and the Ophelia, but Arachna is just so squishy that even with the Shrunken Head that she needs a token of life if she wants to be able to take a high ground push. And if they can get a token, then I think the Legion could be in a lot of trouble because having that continuously pushing top lane is obviously creating a lot of problems already, and it can only get worse if they have to deal with a token and then a high ground push. They have to have their attention divided between the top and whatever lane the Hellborn are pushing, and that could be the opportunity. Anyway, speaking of this, could be the opportunity. Torture gonna get jumped on, but McNoob, in fact, is gonna be the one that's taking a lot of damage, and Legionnaire should be falling first off in this fight. Torture does survive. Cthulhu can get away with the trample. Gauntlet gonna be able to PK, but in the wrong direction. So it's the one kill on the Legionnaire, and he's sort of their initiator. He's at least their primary initiator, and the Hellborn feel like without that Legionnaire, they can take a fight. Glacius is also at the top lane. McNoob does buy back, and they see that and back off, so I like that play. From both sides, actually. They really kind of do need the buyback on Legionnaire to stop this Kongor, and they do need to stop the Kongor. But this is still a 4v5 fight, so I feel like they could potentially continue to take an engagement. They also didn't use any significant ultimates on the Hellborn team, and that means that they don't really have a position that's demonstrably worse than it was when they killed the Legionnaire the first time. In fact, it's probably better. And, by the way, Magma's working on a sheepstick of his own, as he purchased the Arcana, not the Arcana, the Acolyte staff, and, I guess he sold it back, because otherwise he would have been sitting on 5,700 gold, and I don't think he had nearly that much. But the gold pooling is still happening on the Hellborn side, 3k on Magma's, 2.5 on Gauntlet, and 2 on both on Ophelia and, Spider, which isn't that much really, but it's a fair bit collectively. Top lane Stand March does die, so you can go back and watch that. Why not? Just kind of happily farming, and then Magnus is like, "Here's a Lava Surge and 2 auto attacks, and you're dead." Or Stand March. So they do know that Magnus isn't there. Magnus has a Haste Rune, a Portal Key, and Lava Surge, so it looks like this Kongor kill will go through. The Legion side may or may not be aware of this. They don't have vision of it, but my guess is they can probably figure out. They're probably doing Kongor. And that's going to be their token of life on the Arachna, and they look like they're going to try to push down middle lane, so don't care, potentially in a very good position to be ending this game. Magnus will once again buy the Acolyte Staff, and he's also got the Mana Tube, so that's 2 Sheep Sticks as well. So this is a really good timing for the Hellborn team. They've got double Sheep Stick between Ophelia and Magnus. They've also got all of their cooldowns available, as well as Token of Life on Arachna, so it looks like they're going to be taking the Legion Woods, trying to resource control at least a little bit, and then turning this into a base push. We'll see if they choose to go for mid or bot. I think bot is probably the better one because it's going to be a further distance between bot and top lane, so it's a lot harder for the Legion side to continuously deal with that top lane push, send a hero up there every so often to stop it, and then can also resist the push in the bottom lane. It looks like the Hellborn side, if they don't have a similar thought process, at least they arrived at the same conclusion. And we've been seeing a bot push here. We also see a couple of Wolf Commanders get picked up, and that's not a bad thing from Ophelia by any means. If you have one of those Wolves follow Spider around, that's going to be another 30% damage aura. So let's look at Arachna, and she's hitting pretty damn hard. She actually doesn't have the Wolf Commander aura already, but still a good amount of damage, especially considering she really only has 1 damage item, and that's Geometer's Bane. And I'd really like to see Ophelia just have one of those wolves right-click the Arachna. So there you go, up to 280 maximum damage with the Wolf Commander aura. And these Arachna illusions, obviously continuing to push stuff in, as the cannon does too. So they can just slow push this, to be honest, on the Hellborn team. They have plenty of timing on the token, and they're going to continuously go into the woods and farm that out, continuously get some creep kills right there while keeping the Legion team in their base. So I like the way that Don't Care is playing this very much, and they should continue to do so. By the way, still no Portal Key on the Cthulhu. He is in fact going for the Frostfield build once again, so I don't know what their opposition to PK Cthulhu is on Solaire Club, but I feel like they need to get over it, because that's definitely a very important item for that hero, and it's extremely critical for the follow-up initiation as well. Okay, you've got Legionnaire, you got Kraken, you have Soul Stealer, they all have nice bursts, and they all have nice PKs and stuff like that, and that's all great, but you really want to be able to follow up the lockdown of Legionnaire with immediate stuns from Cthulhu, because Kraken won't necessarily hit his charge every time, and he won't necessarily catch 4 or 5 heroes in his ultimate. So you can't really guarantee the idea that people will be locked down long enough for them to prevent shrunken heads, for them to not to get push booked out, that sort of thing. It's a bit of an issue. And yeah, there goes the PK. So Cthulhu, similar thought process. And yeah, I mean, a Frostfield Plate's a good item, but you need portal key here. You really do. Tier 3 tower well in deny range. Soul Stealer missing a demon hand, but will hit the other two. So the D push there from those is nice. And they actually deny it before the Ophelia creeps can come in and get the kill. Both of them fall as well. And there's Cthulhu, gonna find the jump. Actually, Gauntlet gonna hit the hook onto Link. We'll see if they can do anything about this. The taunt isn't through, and Noob McNoob just gets exploded. He's not all that tanky. Release the Kraken does hit on a couple of heroes that burst from Soul Stealers there onto Solo Volca as well, who didn't get the eruption off. Cthulhu trample onto Link also. Gauntlet gonna fall in the background. Dream of Madness going through, and Spider has to run away as Torturer falls. Ophelia trying to TP on out. She will be able to survive. Meanwhile, Link has to throw the web shots out so that he can survive, but he can't. Gets hit by the creeps from the Cthulhu trample, and Arachna is gonna die at least once. Token gonna bring her right back up, but there's 3 heroes immediately surrounding her, and there's no way that she's gonna get out of this, because obviously even if she tries to TP, she will get stunned. She will put the spider onto Kraken, but it's not gonna be sufficient to get a kill. And a really good engagement right there, started off by a Cthulhu portal key. I'm just saying. By the way, Arachna has no buyback, and at the top lane they did lose a tier 4 tower, in fact, so their Shrine getting closer to being exposed, but this is going to be a counter push in the bottom lane from the Legion team, and they could pretty easily get a tower right here. Obviously, Soul Stealer just hits super hard, and he's got a Geometer's Bane on top of that. And with Fortification, we'll be stopping this in the meantime. We're going to see some resurrections, especially from Magnus coming back in a couple of seconds. Obviously, still has the eruption available. And yeah. See if they can actually get a tower out of this. No. Nope. Alright, well that's it. So, Arachna now going for the wing bow, it appears. And she's picked up the Dancing Blade. But I think a lot of it goes back to, like I said before, the Geometer's Bane is not doing all that much for her. I think if she had a Shroud, she could reposition herself in these fights relatively easily, and it would do a lot of work, because she could get into a position where she could just right-click and it wouldn't necessarily put her in a ton of danger. And the fact that she doesn't have a positioning tool like that, like Soul Stealer has his portal key, so he's able to put himself in the position he wants to be in. And, so it's a bit of a problem, but that's actually a good point as well. The rest of the Hellborn heroes haven't really gone for a lot of damage items. Mostly defensive, sheep sticks all over the place. They do have Demonic Breastplate on Gauntlet. More critically, Magnus did not get an eruption off in that fight, as I've mentioned a couple of times. I mean, I'm honestly okay with the multiple sheeps, especially because Soul Stealer is the real source of damage for the Legion side. I mean, if you look up and down their lineup, especially with Noob at 200 GPM and Kraken at 240, even Army of Mums at 300, like, those are just not damage-dealing heroes. If they can lock down the SS, then they can kill him. The problem is they can't lock down the SS, because it gets shrunken head off and then PKs in. So there is no realistic scenario in which they can get their sheep sticks off on the Soul Stealer, so they probably should have thought about that when they went PK all over the place, and if they're going to go, or sorry, when they went sheep all over the place, and if they're going to do that, then you get the jump. You have a Magnus PK and you have a Gauntlet PK, get on top of the SS before he can get on top of you. Because If you don't do that, then most of your sheep sticks are going to be useless because the shrunken head is like, hello. Now, anyway, we're going to have the jump right here onto Magmus, the bottom lane. He's going to survive at least in the meantime. The newest blessing is not going to save him as the dunk comes through. SS is here with the shrunken head up. The rest of the Hellborn side is mostly looking to run away, and they might look to reinitiate right here as the Hellborn team have the possibility to get some kills on the Shrunkens are falling. Gauntlet going to try to find this Kraken here who charges away and PKs away. He has a teleport available, but realizes he's got to get in a better position than what he currently has to find the angle to TP, and in fact, they won't be able to chase the Kraken. He will get out of there no problem. So, free pick onto the solo Volca Magmus, who actually buys back. And they're going to need to make something out of that. Now, what they can make out of that, I'm not entirely sure. They're just having such problems pushing high ground because they can't start fights. I mean, Gauntlet really needs to be the first one into this. Like, you had a token on Arachna, you probably should have just right-clicked, forced them to go on the Arachna and then counter-initiate, or use the Gauntlet to jump or something like that. But ugh, that's a problem. Anyway, Doomik going to jump on Torture right here. There is a haste from the bottom lane. Kraken's going to go control that. Sheepstick is going to lock down Doomik in the meantime, but the Porky, nice port back from Ophelia. That's going to allow Zudonix to survive, and both the Ophelia creeps going to get cleaned up right here. They don't need damage. They need to protect the Iraq so they can sit there and auto. They do need CC to protect the Iraq, and so he can sit there and auto, but then Iraq has to auto. And it looks like the Legion are going to get a bit aggressive here. Trying to push a tier 3 tower in the middle lane. By the way, SolC did pick up a a Savage Mace. He just got that maybe a minute or so ago to counter the impending Wingbow from the Arachna. So actually, Arachna could throw him a curve right here and go for a Genjiro. I keep saying get the invis because I think they really should get the invis. They do have an eye on the Legion team, so maybe it won't be as valuable. Anyway, so the position that the Hellborn were in before, controlling the Legion woods, continuously pushing in, it seems that the Legion are in the same position. They don't even have stand march. They've had stand march for like none of these fights. And nonetheless, it's been pretty easy for them to take them. By the way, Kongor should be back up in a couple of minutes. Or now. Either way, it's fine. And that's obviously going to be a pretty big point of contention. You see the entire Legion side focused on getting a pick off here. It looks like Torture might be the unlucky soul that, yeah. Sorry, Zudonix, but wrong place, wrong time. And it looks like Kongor not going to be jumped, so we'll see what Solaire Club's plan is here. I'd like to see them get a token, but I feel like they're probably right. They can't really do this, especially without substantial amounts of vision, which they don't have. Oh, there's the Magmus Eruption. Gonna be onto just the one, though. Kraken will be bursted down right off the bat. There's the Soul Burst onto everybody. Newest Blessing goes through, but Zefranthe is not gonna survive. We'll see if they can actually finish anybody else off, though, and Magmus falls. So, yeah, I think this is still gonna go in favor of Legion side. Link gonna get dunked on as Noob manages to find the kill. PK away from the Soul Stealer, and Gauntlet trying to chase him down, but they just can't find it. And Magma's going to buy back for the second time. Gauntlet also does the same. And he's going to get stunned out right here. And actually, here comes Stand March, probably going to show up, gets Sheepstick immediately, and he's probably going to fall in this fight. No, he's going to get out. Nope, he dies. Sorry. Ophelia with the last auto attack finishes off that kill. Cthulhu in the middle of 5 heroes has a Dream of Madness active, tramples away. The question is, can he get out? No, he can't. He had the ultimate from Link on him, as Arachna also buys back. So we had 3 buybacks in that fight. but it does result in a pretty well-won fight for the Hellborn team. This is also their opportunity to take Kongor, and it looks like they'll take advantage of it. So, a fight they needed to take, but now they're out of buybacks on their 2 initiators, which means if Gauntlet or Magnus die, I don't see the Hellborn taking a good fight. And Link does not have a buyback available. He's got a token, but not enough money. It's going to result in bananas for Link, really? Yeah, okay. I was going to say. Put bananas on somebody else, like Magnus. Good. So, much better item distribution right there, and I mean, to be honest, I feel like they need to make something happen on the don't care side. Sure, control Legion Woods, get some farm back up, make sure that Link's got a buyback so that the worst case scenario, he can come back into this game. But you need to get more aggressive than you were in the last time. It's fine to slow push and it's fine to take stuff, but it didn't really result in them getting too much, and then the token expired and their entire team got destroyed. So find the initiation, get aggressive, find a point where you can pick somebody off, or get a couple of people with a Magnus Eruption and a stun. I mean, playing it that passively is not going to result in a lot of one fights when you're trying to push high ground, because you need to kill heroes. They're not going to let you take their racks for the most part uncontested. Sure, that happened earlier in this game in top lane, but let's just ignore it for now because it doesn't fit the narrative I'm trying to build. Anyway, Hellborn going to complete the Storm Spirit on Ophelia, so now with the potential for Arachne to get jumped before she can get her shrunken head off, she will be able to be saved by that oath, as well as the newest blessing and the Astrolabe, of course, all going to be very helpful. So Ophelia is just basically like, everybody live, please. Why do bananas spawn with the 3rd Kong? They want to make Kongor have more and more importance as the game goes on, because it's an objective you have to protect. And it gets to the point where killing a token can often be quite easy. I mean, like, when we see level 1 Kongs, you see people hold on to a token for like 5 minutes because it's really hard to kill somebody at level 1 or level 2 or level 3, but at this point in the game, it's relatively easy to get a pick off or something like that. Or maybe Stu has the right theory. Anyway, rest of the Legion side, gonna pick up a couple of new items as well. Barbed Armor is available on Noob McNoob. And Cthulhu looking to finish off his Frostfield plate. He should have it now, actually. It's a 300 gold recipe and 2,700 gold Acolyte staff, so Frostfield should be available for him, but probably wants to save the buyback, so that's likely why he's not getting it right now. By the way, Stan March has post-haste. It's kind of funny. All that farm he got in the top lane by repeatedly killing those creeps that were endlessly streaming into their base. Actually, Ward of Wrath is going to get killed by the creep wave. So, the Hellborn really want to take this bottom tower, and Arachne going to have a DD rune here as well. She's going to have to drop the bottle, pick her Dance Blade back up. Yeah, so, bottle, effective, and she needs to go hit the Rex. Please, please go hit the Rex.
Come dance with me.
Please go hit the Rex. Nope, not going to hit the Rex. Just, I mean, even if it's a bad initiation, please start a fight, Hellborn team, because you're going to get jumped if you don't, and it's going to be the same thing that happened last time. Oh, there's the jump. Thank you. Magnus hits 2 people. Gauntlet's in, looking for the jump onto SolC there. He takes the Gauntlet Blast, but he also has a shrunken head up, and Noob McNoob dies right off the bat. They try to get everybody out, as there goes a nice Storm Spirit. Gonna save Ophelia for the meantime. They do manage to go Gauntlet, though. There goes the Oath, as Kandorf is just doing way too much damage. Finally, Eruption being channeled, but it's not going to do all that much damage because it's on 2 fat tanks. And in fact, it's Magnus who's going to have to Lava Surge away and PK on out. He's barely going to survive. Link did not manage to use the token, so an initiation, not a great initiation, but at least they did something. And the Legion are now going to counter push the middle lane. No buyback on Gauntlet. There is buyback on both Torture and Ophelia, and they need to use them. Otherwise, they will lose mid-racks right here pretty damn quickly. So we're also getting to the point where Kandorf is just going to straight up out-carry Link, especially because he has nearly 600 GPM. So I hadn't mentioned that in a while, but it's worth noting that they have a Soul Stealer on the Legion team. and the Hellborn don't exactly have anything to counter that. But the other problem, it seems like, is that, I mean, there's just so much tankiness on the Legion side. They're going to sheepstick out Cannondorf. Question is, can they kill him? He finally pops Shrunken and the Geometer's Bane. There's a Kraken ult onto everybody. Storm Spirit is going to save Link for the meantime, but he's going to lose the Aegis no matter what. And he's going to get the Invis on up, as he actually went for the Ganjuro over the Wingbow, so I like that. After the Savage Mage came out, Ophelia going to fall right here. And that's going to be nobody alive except for Arachna. Gauntlet going to respawn in a couple of seconds. And Ophelia and Kraken, as Ophelia uses her second buyback. That's going to be Midrax, and I think Link is going to fall right here. He's got no buyback. That's going to be Botrax, and maybe even the game. This could have turned on a dime right here. Gauntlet getting back into the well. He will survive, but this is going to be Botrax in favor of the Legion team, and there's just no way to stop this Soul Stealer. He has 2,300 gold, he has a Genjiro, he hits like a truck, and they can't do anything about it. Post-haste means Stanmarks is coming back into this fight. We'll see if Ophelia or Gauntlet can stop this, slow it down at least a little bit. They need a minute before Arachna respawns, and 30 seconds before Magnus comes back in. Still no ultimate was used by Magnus, by the way. Sorry, no, it was. It just didn't matter. Anyway, Gauntlet gonna get in there, but he's gonna pay for his sins, and it looks like Ophelia can get chased down a little bit. Torture looking for an opening right here, basically just suiciding, trying to distract the Legion team a little bit and get their attention away from the racks. He will do that, but it's not going to matter. They're still going to take Mega Creeps right here, and that's going to be GG's because there's no way that the Hellborn are coming after this. So GG's get called here by Don't Care, and Solaire Club, it looks like, is going to be the one that finishes out this 3-game series ahead, as Don't Care will bow out in the loser's bracket round 4.
Valiant effort, Warriors.
Solaire Club moving on to the loser's bracket semifinals, and that puts them just 2 series wins away from going to Diamond Division for next cycle. So still not all that likely. They have to win 2 more series against 2 more good teams, but definitely impossible for them, and I feel like that was a game that Don't Care could have won. Arachna just never had GPM. 344 GPM at the end of that game. Cannondor finished with 620. I think Arachna can compete with Soul Stealer as the game goes on. But if you're going to have double the GPM, no. And I don't necessarily have an issue with the items that they bought. It was just like Link did not want to go in those fights. They could have gotten aggressive much earlier, and they could have tried to do what they did in top lane and just take Rex. And, alright, fine, you want to go on me? I got a token, and then my team's going to counter-initiate on top of you because you spent a bunch of stuff to kill me. And instead, Link felt like he was just so safe. He was trying to play it so safe. In that last bottom fight, his entire team died except for Magnus, and he didn't even use token. I mean, and the same thing happened actually the previous time they got token as well. His entire team died, and he ran away with a token. And he eventually lost the token and then died again, so I guess he eventually did die, but I mean that felt like some iffy carrying right there from Link. It definitely felt like they had the opportunities to get wins there and to get that game, but they really could not manage to pull out the victory. So I mean, to their credit, Solaire Club played that more or less perfectly. They were like, look, they didn't even have that much farm on most of their heroes except for Soul Stealer, but they were patient. They waited for the jumps that they could take and that they could win, and they let the Don't Care team essentially hang themselves by not getting aggressive enough. They said, fine, you don't want to push, that's fine with us. We will sit here and stare at you, and our Soul Stealer will eventually become more powerful than you are. So it's a good plan from their part, and clearly working out very well in the end. So, well played to both teams. Series goes 3 games. That's usually, and extremely long 3 games as well. I believe this is the longest solo cast I've ever done. And Solaire Club going to come out ahead, so we'll see them in the next round, and Don't Care going to be knocked out. We'll be back, of course, for Gold Cycle 7, so be good to see them again, as I think they do have some improvements to make, but they've definitely stepped up their game as well. And this is a team that would have bowed out a couple of rounds earlier in the early part of Season 3, so good stuff from both sides. Going to wrap the series up, and that'll do it.